Hey, Zane Griggs here. Published in the Lancet August 29th this year, so just like a month ago, was this huge study, huge epidemiological study. So basically they looked at the diets of over 135,000 people across 18 countries, 5 continents, and they're just looking for how their diets affected mortality rates. So they weren't putting them on a diet and comparing with another diet. They were looking at basically taking what was given, what was part of their normal cultural diet. This is how they ate. So this is not saying we put them on an ideal diet, we found this result. This was, let's look at what people are just eating normally and see how it's affecting mortality rates in comparison with these different cultural groups. A lot of these cultural groups were groups that had not been looked at closely as much before compared with other groups. So they were across, like I said, 5 different continents. So they were doing comparisons, again, of existing diets, not putting them on one and comparing it to like, oh, how does a high-fat diet compare to the, but here's what they saw, because there was some variety in diet. And what they found was that a higher carb diet, so a diet that had 60% or more calories coming from carbohydrates of all kinds. I'm not saying just starch, I'm saying carbohydrates of all kinds, was related to a higher mortality rate, so higher risk of death due to disease or whatever. It basically, that diet led to higher mortality, A diet that is considered higher in fat, certainly by US standards, of like say 35% of fat coming from fat, calories coming from fat, 35% coming from fat, was related to a lower mortality rate. So 60% or more carbs, higher mortality rate. 35% of fat, lower mortality rate. Now, of course, what they found was that groups that tended to eat less fat had a higher carb intake. Well, wow. Now, where else have we seen that? Let me think. How about over the last 50 years, we've heard from our health authorities, government authorities, medical associations, we're supposed to eat less fat. And so what's happened? We're eating more carbohydrate. We're eating more carbs, aren't we? We're definitely pushing. They even recommended 60%, this amount for the higher mortality, and telling us to put total fat under 20% or down close to 15, really, it's 15, try to get it to 10, keep saturated fat below 10. And so this is called all kinds of fat, because this is basically a mixture of fats because it's someone's mixed diet. They're eating animals and nuts and coconut, whatever it is they eat. It's all fats, so it's not separating out types of fats. But 35% or more of calories coming from fat, lower mortality. Again, let me finish what I was saying. The groups that ate less fat ate more carbs. And so one particular group where they found in the South Asian groups where they tended to eat less fat, they ate more carbohydrates, and in general that group had a higher mortality rate than some of the other cultural groups they were looking at where they were eating more fat and less carbs. So higher mortality rate, again, in those groups where, and particularly the South Asian group is what they found with a higher carb intake but a lower fat intake. And so that led to higher mortality. Kind of the opposite of what we've been told for the last 50 years from our health authorities. Wonder why? Maybe because we got a huge food industry here, corn, soy, GMO in general, pushing carbohydrates into our foods, whether we see them or not, listen to the labels, pushing corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, all these sugars into our food, and that's big money, and so we need someone to tell us, hey, that's healthy. Let's back this research and show them, hey, let's put some money behind this research. By the way, could you find what we're looking for, which is a high carb diet's better for you and a low fat diet isn't so good? Maybe that's how we got it. I don't know. But this is Lancet. It's been, very established, medically based publication from the UK. Been around for over 100 years. They've been publishing medical information and health information since the 1800s. So this is a pretty established publication. Again, higher fat intake, like 35% or more, lower mortality. Higher carb intake, 60% from calories or more, higher mortality. Food for thought. Talk to you later.